you go. Okay, so you're out camping in a tent for days and days and days.
Shefskyville.
Just to watch Zion Williamson walk into the locker room.
Yes. Welcome to Sports Center with John Anderson. I'm Steve Levy, and we had a special lead up to this game, wall-to-wall coverage.
Yes.
And then it happened. Let's take a look at how the night all started. It was filled with anticipation. Zion Williamson and Duke hosting North Carolina. The fans at Cameron Indoor, they're ready to blow the roof off the place. President Obama in the house. Zion himself was fired up. Look at this. 360 bam pregame, ready to put on a show. And then the first possession of the game. 33 ticks in. Turns in the paint, falls awkwardly. Play continues. Luke Mays gives it up to Cam Johnson, but all eyes and all the attention on Zion Williamson. Just watch. Plants hard with the left. Foot gives out. Foot goes through the sneaker. The sneaker didn't come off. He went through the sneaker. And he grabs his right knee. This is 33 seconds in. President Obama, you can see what he said. He saw what you saw. He was closer to the action. And Williamson's night was over. Did not return. Duke went to the social and called it a knee injury. And Maria Taylor now joins us from Cameron Indoor. And, you know, everybody wants to know, what is the very latest in Zion Williamson? What can you tell us to advance the story?
Well, sure, Steve. And, you know, immediately after, you could see Zion's dad come down from the stands and just talk with his son for a little bit. And at first, Zion, he said he was okay. But then you could see Nolan Smith, the director of basketball operations, bring out a new pair of shoes to see if maybe he could just go straight back into the game. And the reaction was no, he needed further evaluation back into the locker room. And even as I sat still in Cameron, but could kind of see through the hallway, you could see Zion running back and forth, jogging back and forth, really just trying to see if he could go again. But then his mother and his father and his brother all made their way back to the training room. And then I was told that they were able to watch the rest of the game there. Now, there are no MRI machines or X-ray machines located here in Cameron, so we don't know the severity of the injury, and obviously that further evaluation will have to take place outside of this gym. But I was told that Zion remained here. He did not go into the locker room at halftime to meet with the team then, but was able to watch the rest of the game with his family in the locker room, Steve.
This will lead to an awful lot of speculation, of course, and we will hear from Mike Krzyzewski live on SportsCenter as soon as he steps to a microphone. You can imagine what the tone of those questions will be like. Maria, so off the court, inside the arena, give us a feel. We tried to show the people what the atmosphere was like prior to the tip and the opening warm-up. So how drastically did it change before Zion went down to afterwards?
Well, Steve, I was even telling my producer in the truck before this game tipped off, this is crazy. I haven't felt anything like this before. I mean, the number of fans that were on the court, the number of media members that were here as former President Barack Obama came into the arena, and you could almost feel it. You could cut some of the excitement and the anticipation with a knife. And then the moment that Zion went down, you could almost feel a little bit of the deflation. And even as you watch kind of the body language as the Duke Blue Devils, you could see R.J. Barrett and talking to Cam Reddish saying, let's go, you know, let's get fired up. You could see a couple of all-player huddles, and you could really see Trey Jones in there saying, all right, guys, this is what we're going to do moving forward. But ultimately, they never were able to get that confidence back, and that's something Associate Head Coach John Shire said coming out of the locker room. We're getting good shots. We really just have to be a little bit more confident on the floor, and you can imagine what kind of confidence is lost when you lose a guy like Zion Williamson, who so much of your team depends on throughout games.
Yes, so the game drastically changes with the injury both on and off the court. That is Maria Taylor, center court, Cameron Indoor, with the very latest.
All right, as you can imagine, Twitter blowing up over the blown-out shoe. LeBron James tweeting, hope young fella is okay. Literally blew through his shoe. And then you have Donovan Mitchell, and he was a little more fatalistic and certainly capitalistic about what happened here. Again, let's remember all the money that went into this game, and these players get none of it, and now Zion gets hurt. Something has to change at the NCAA. Hopefully there will be more games to play before his freshman season is over. Jay Billis in the analyst seat at Durham for the game tonight. He always has the good seats for the best games. Jay, first off, you played a bunch of games as a player. You watch a bunch of them every year. You ever seen anything like this just in terms of an equipment failure?
No, I've seen a shoe blown out here and there over the course of my years, but I've never seen anything quite like this. When Zion Williamson went down, at first you thought he slipped, and then you looked a little bit closer and said, wait a minute, he blew his shoe out, and he was holding that right knee. And it was just a bizarre happening. And Maria Taylor's right. Like, the anticipation for this game, you were expecting that it was going to be so loud that you wouldn't be able to hear yourself think. And all the air came out of the building. And then North Carolina, when Duke took a knee, just came and punched them and knocked them out early. Duke had what seemed like a chance with about a minute and a half left to go in the first half to maybe cut into the lead and get it down to maybe one possession if they handled the end of half right. And North Carolina stretched it out to 10 points. Duke didn't handle it right, and Carolina handled it great and took it to 42-32, if I remember right, and then it was basically over. Carolina was so good in transition. They dominated the paint. 62 points in the paint for North Carolina in this game. They got them in transition. They got them off their great passing. They put the ball on the deck, got all the way to the rim. Duke's rotations, unable to stay in front, then unable to rotate over. And Luke May was outstanding. 30 points, 15 rebounds. Cameron Johnson had 25 points, 7 rebounds. He was spectacular. You got to give North Carolina a lot of credit. The story is going to be Zion Williamson and his knee. But you can't overlook that North Carolina took advantage of it and played very well on the road to tie for first place in the league again.
And Zion will be the story going forward as well as we look at this thing. And Maria Taylor said she peaked at him. I mean, he was doing some straight line running, which is fine, but you got to move laterally, and that could tell a whole different story when they X-ray MRI him and stuff. You preach team, but now Coach K is in a very real situation, right? You have to measure this kid's future now and the benefit of the team together, right?
Oh, yeah. No. They're not going to do anything that's going to be detrimental to Zion Williamson, not just for his NBA future, but just right now. They'll handle it right. That's not an issue for me. I don't worry about that for 1 second. But say that he's out for a period of time, misses the Syracuse game, misses the Virginia Tech game. Who knows? He may be back tomorrow. I have no idea. Right. But for argument's sake, say he misses some time. The question is, where's Duke going to get scoring? You know, Cam Reddish had 27 points in this game. R.J. Barrett obviously can score, but who's going to be their third scorer? I mean, you're losing with Zion Williamson out. Not only a tremendous presence in blocking shots and rebounding and transition, but a guy who gets you every night 24 points, 9.5 rebounds, couple blocks, couple steals, and shoots 70% from the field. Like, you can't duplicate that with a couple extra guys coming in off the bench and hitting some shots. That is a gigantic loss. And you saw that it was not only a loss in productivity for Duke, but it was an energy loss, and it totally deflated the Duke team, and they were just not able to emotionally recover from that happening so early in the game.
And to your point, Reddish and Barrett, 21 of 45 from the field. The rest of the team, 4 of 27. Jay Billis, thanks for your time on a unique night in the Duke-UNC rivalry.
Never seen one like it. It always delivers. It delivered in a different way, but it still delivered.
Jay was just talking about blocked shots and rebounds with Zion Williamson. Of course, when he's not around, forget all that he does on offense. It's his defense, especially in the paint, and that's where North Carolina was able to take advantage of Luke May. Kobe White can't make his shot. Cam Johnson gets the board and makes the layup. Later, here's Cam Johnson again. Easy. No rim protector around. Nasir Little can't get it to go. And there's the battle. Another battle underneath, won by North Carolina and May. The offensive putback. North Carolina is up 9, up 24-17. Floating alley-oop to Garrison Brooks and Seventh Woods. And Brooks, use 2 hands, kids. UNC just punishing Duke inside, taking advantage with no Zion Williamson for the Blue Devils. It's May again. Little transition. Even when they missed the dunk, May is there for the putback, cleaning up. Less than 10 seconds to go. Turnover, and North Carolina would finish at the rim. In the first half, UNC went 17 of 24 on their interior shots for 34 points. The Tar Heels 1 of 16 for 3 on those outside shots. So really the story is, no matter what you want to say about this game, the missing of Zion Williamson. Blue Devils really missed him in the paint. This will accentuate the point. They allowed 62 points in the paint against Carolina after allowing just 30 per game entering this one. North Carolina also recorded 14 second chance points. Reese, Jay, and Seth are standing by live on SportsCenter.
And to that point about the interior defense, North Carolina shot nearly 70% on two-point field goal attempts. You know, Duke is just the second program now, guys, to lose twice at home in the same season when ranked number 1 in the AP poll, and both times sort of bizarre circumstances surrounding it. The loss to Syracuse, Trey Jones was injured early in the game. Tonight, Zion Williamson injured early in the game. What about the emotion of having to deal with something like that with a guy who's so important and trying to get yourself back up and play at the level you have to emotionally?
Well, Coach K always preaches about how do you bounce back from adversity. The only challenge with losing a guy like Zion is that he is such a utility weapon. I mean, he can do so many different things from a defensive perspective. The way he plays steals, the way he can really clean up mistakes with blocking the shot, the way he can attack the rim, getting into the paint. Losing him really limits their team because all of a sudden now R.J. Barrett and Cam Reddish have to do so much more, and there's so much more attention on those two to stop. And, you know, the stat they said, I think it was 4 of 27 from the field, the rest of the team. They need that third scoring option, and they didn't get that this evening.
You know, I think emotionally, you talk about Zion Williamson, the energy, the passion, the enthusiasm that he plays with is contagious. And when you take that out of the equation, it absolutely sucks to win that of anyone else that's playing, including Trey Jones, including R.J. Barrett. Now, on the court, coming into this game, we were talking about, does Carolina have a matchup for Zion Williamson? Without Zion Williamson, the question was, does Duke have a matchup for Luke May? No, they did not. And when you take out Zion Williamson, you take away rim protection. You also take away another disruptive defender. His ability, because Trey Jones is pressuring the ball, to then get up and pass lanes, knock passes away. They get 11 points off of turnovers today. That's not Duke basketball defensively.
This is a live look into the Duke locker room right now, and the players absorbing what just happened. You see Cam Reddish, Marquise Bolden in the middle, Trey Jones, and the guys, of course, I'm sure they're being asked about Zion Williamson. Maria Taylor told us earlier that you know, they will obviously waiting to examine him. Hopefully this is not a long-term injury situation. Seth, quickly, I do want to ask you, and not to speculate on the injury, but if worst-case scenario, without Zion Williamson, I think they're the best team in the country with him. I think it's not even close. Without him, what are they?
I think at best a second weekend team. At best. Look, they've got 3 great players. You're talking about Trey Jones, you're talking about R.J. Barrett, you're talking about Cam Reddish. But I'll tell you, they don't have rim protection, they don't have another guy to disrupt defensively, and they don't have anyone to throw the ball to on the block.
I think they're a second weekend team, but I'm not going to give them excuses. They still have 2 guys that can go top 5 in NBA draft. You have that. Not a lot of other teams in this nation have that. You can work off that. Now, do they have issues? Yes, they do. Every team in college basketball has issues. I think this team still has a chance to come together collectively, and it starts on the defensive end, Seth.
They were awful.
They were horrible. And granted, they didn't handle the situation with Zion correctly today, but that takes a minute to bounce back from. And sometimes it takes a learning experience like this for a team to grow together.
Let's give Carolina some credit.
Yeah, absolutely.
They were terrific.
So.
Garrison Brooks was terrific. And they did this without Kobe White, because Kobe White was not good today.
Yeah, he didn't have his best game. Luke May goes 30 and 15, the first Carolina guy to go 30 and 10 against Duke since Antoine Jamison did it. There's Roy Williams, who now has 8 wins against AP-ranked number 1 teams. That is more than any other coach ever. Back to SportsCenter.
If you just look at the final score tonight, you missed the big story. Yes, Carolina beats Duke 88-72, but in the first half minute of action tonight, Zion Williamson, the likely number 1 pick in the upcoming NBA draft, went down, injured his right knee, went through his left shoe. Coach K now, live on SportsCenter, talking about what you'd expect.
The injury with Zion, obviously, whatever. The very first thing is just to address that. It's a mild knee sprain. The knee is stable. We don't know how long he'll be out. I think we'll find out more about that. So that's that. It's crazy that the 2 games we've lost here, something's happened in the first part of the game. And the preparation that you would have for the game is obviously based on your players being there. And especially he and RJ, who are the key guys. And so it puts everyone in a state of, trying to figure it out while you're playing an outstanding team. That's not a good situation. And I thought our guys really played hard in the first half. We were knocked back after that injury. You could see it. And they went ahead, and they played well, especially their two really veteran guys played great. And
entering tonight's game, Williamson was averaging over 22 points per game, trailing only R.J. Barrett for the most in the ACC. Williamson also ranked third in rebounds per game, averaged 2.3 steals per game, best in the conference. Nuance Sports Center. Here's the other side of the story. Here's Roy.
It was a heck of a game. I thought that we needed to do a better job on the backboards than we did. But be honest. Everybody be honest. When the big fella goes out of the game, it changes a lot of stuff for them. Zion Williamson, I've never seen anything like him, and that was a huge blow for them. And having that happen during the course of the game, you don't have time to prepare for it. So I hated that part of it because I think he's such a wonderful kid. But that was a huge blow for them at that time, there's no question. And guys, I'd just ramble, so I'd rather you guys ask questions.
Here's old Roy. All right, Duke, North Carolina. Before they started playing basketball, it was actually square there. Zion, he was the big attraction. I mean, the President of the United States, former president, showed up to watch this thing. And here we go. The first possession of the game for Duke ends up in a layup the other way. Yeah, it's Zion down. Blows up his shoe, right? The whole thing comes off. Gasps. There he is. We just plant the foot, and out we go. Left shoe gone. And then Zion out for the rest of the game. We heard Coach K just now. Mild knee sprain. Not a timetable yet on when he might be available. To get more information on that tomorrow. Meanwhile, Luke May, he took over because there was nobody in the middle to stop him without Zion. 34 points in the paint in the first half, 14 courtesy of May. They scored 62 of their 88 points in this game in the paint. Wild sequence end of the first half, which really changed a lot of the complexion here. Dan Shulman.
White draws a crowd. Shot clock's at 6. A force by Reddish. And it belongs to Carolina. They can get the last look. Johnson out ahead of them.
He missed it.
And he missed the layup. And then a steal by Woods, and they got time to come back again. Another great pass, and Brooks will slam it home on the feed from Woods.
How poorly handled the end of half was for Duke and how well it was handled for North Carolina.
That bumps the lead up to double digits at intermission, 42-32 second half. More of the same off of Cam Reddish. Miss, May rebounds, passes ahead to Johnson, drops up to Colby White, who was just 3 of 14 from the field, but he made that one. 15-point lead. Seventh, Wood. He finds May. May had a gigantic game in this one. 30 points, 15 rebounds. In we go again. Lead is 17. Here it's 14. Ball movement inside. We've got it. Tar Heels just keep relentlessly pounding. We go up top. Brandon Robinson to Brooks, catch and score. UNC wins at 88-72. Johnson had 26. And again, Zion Williamson had 0 in 33 seconds of playing time. Not a long road trip, but not a tough one sometimes for North Carolina. Defeating #1 Duke 4 times in Durham. 1980, Al Wood led the Tar Heels with 20. That was first time. 89, North Carolina pulled off a 91-71 upset over the #1 team. Scott Williams scored 22 points, handed the Blue Devils their first loss of the season in that one. Duke Senior Night 2006. Freshman Tyler Hansbrough spoiled that night for J.J. Redick and Sheldon Williams. He scored 26 points and grabbed 10 rebounds in that victory. And then, of course, tonight, Tar Heels upset #1 Duke again. This time, much of that game without Zion Williamson, which changed everything. Second time this season, the Blue Devils have lost as a top-ranked team at home. The other one was Syracuse.
Carolina Duke, not the only college basketball game in America tonight. Elsewhere around the sport, Villanova and Georgetown. Eric Paschal drives and the huge slam. Watch it again, surrounded by Georgetown defenders in the paint. Paschal ended with 16. Jesse Govan, the 3. Georgetown extends their lead. Under 3 to go, up 15. Villanova turns it over. Govan and brings it home with the flush. Georgetown up 17. Just about a minute to go. Govan gets the pass ahead of the play, and he will do that for you. Govan ended with 21. Georgetown wins 85-73 easy over Villanova.
LSU and Florida out of the SEC. 45 seconds to go. Gators up 64-62. Naz Reid puts up the jumper. Can't get the fall. We just stay with it. Now it's 64-all. We're going to overtime. Another overtime game for the Tigers. We're ranked 13th. Kevon Allen drills a three at 76-70. 20 to go. LSU down 3. Steele got possession. We're going to fire that bad boy up. No. Demont Waters can't get it to fall. Florida upsetting LSU in Baton Rouge, 82-77.
Go to Central New York, Louisville and Syracuse. Louisville had a pretty rough night from 3. They went 1 of 17 from 3 points. I guess that qualifies as pretty rough. That was in the first 28 minutes of the game. And with those misses, Syracuse able to capitalize. Of course, Carolina wasn't very good from 3. Neither was Duke tonight. Tough night from 3. Buddy Boeheim wide open for 3. Boeheim ended with 14 off the bench. 2 possessions later. Elijah Hughes ends with 18. Syracuse. This was supposed to be.
Back on SportsCenter. Mississippi State, Georgia. Bulldogs led 44-27 in the second half. Largest lead of the game. Georgia rallies back to make it 67-64. Tyreek Crump hits it at 67-all. Other end of the court, Quindary Weatherspoon is fouled. A 3-point attempt with half a second left. Tom Crean cannot believe it. Weatherspoon misses the first one, but look, there went some sort of a stuffed animal thrown out. So Ben Howland's, he's not happy. He thinks that's a technical. Crowd for getting into there. Stuffed animal taken off the court. Now Crean's got to go address the crowd. So he pleads for some.
We're not Cleveland.
From sportsmanship. He's not like when Billy Tubbs went crazy. No matter how bad the officiating is, don't throw stuff on the floor. Weatherspoon makes 1-point lead, and then he just misses that one, figuring they can't get it down the floor. So that's solid play there. As for Tom Crean, no love for the lovable UGA. Uga.
I've never seen that. Not without a warning. And certainly without an explanation. I know the rule says that you've got to be able to know who did it. Well, it's pretty hard to know in that situation. I just saw something land on the floor, so my first reaction is to go to grab the mic myself. We're in it together. I've done it my whole career as a head coach, and because that usually takes care of it.
It did, but the throw came late and take care of it too late. Mississippi State wins it 68-67 down in Athens.
Couple of takeaways tonight in college hoops. North Carolina was very good against Duke, winning 88-72. But the bigger story will be the injury to Zion Williamson. Coach Mike Krzyzewski said earlier tonight on SportsCenter, it's a mild right knee sprain. Here's more now from Coach K.
When we settled in at halftime, I thought the realization that he's not there kind of stunned us. And we were horrible at the start of the half. You know, the game, we're not going to draw any conclusions from this game, except the fact that we have a loss. All right, that is a definite conclusion. But the fact of how we can play, who we're going to play, what we're going to do, we have to come up with a game plan based on Zion not playing, and hopefully he'll be back playing it sometime in the near future. But so that's where we're at. I don't know that yet. I'd rather not talk about what we're going to do. I'd rather talk about what just happened, because we'll try to figure out what we're going to do. And so I don't have that answer for you. Obviously, you lose the National Player of the Year candidate, there are going to be gaps of what you have to do.
Here's what Vegas is going to do. They're going to react. And following Zion's injury, Duke's odds to win the national championship shifted slightly. Blue Devils went from 2-1 to 5-2. Gonzaga's odds improved, going from 7-1 to 5-1. And Kentucky and Virginia now 7.